Well now, Bill, take us through the rest of the game, move by move.
Well, we left it with the queen having just come out to this square, eyeing the black king.
So we're looking for a possible checkmate.
We're looking for the well, immediate threat is to bring the bishop to that square, and then the queen takes here with checkmate.
But Kasparov won't allow that to happen.
Well, he's played that pawn move to be able to bring the rook there to defend, but this is a ghastly position for black. I mean, look at this bishop. It can't move anywhere. I mean, it's completely hemmed in. White's got complete control of the white squares, and that bishop is awful. If it weren't for this this slight problem of black's rook attacking down this file, attacking this pawn, I'd be very confident that white's position is winning. He's got the initiative. He's got an attack.
Well, that's absolutely true, but I would describe it as more than a slight problem. It's potentially a major source of counterplay, because once the black rook arrives on white's second rank, then black can have counter chances against the white king if white throws all his pieces and commits them to the attack against the black king side.
Well, Short's certainly committing. He's not bothering to defend this pawn. Perhaps he couldn't defend it in the long run. So the rook taking the pawn. So having looked as though he was going to gang up on this pawn, it's in fact the one next to it that he's going to attack. The rook's attacking it, the queen's going to come here. It looks very, very dangerous. But black's only got one active piece, this rook. It's irritating.
Is it anything to do with his queen, Kasparov? She's up the top there in a fairly free position.
Take her a little while to get out. Oh, yeah, maybe she can come here, down here one day, but it's all very slow, and White's building up these threats very quickly.
So it's
White's
very good for Short.
already threatening a check here, and it'll be mate next move. Well, the only thing you can do, yeah.
Would you be despairing if you were Kasparov, John? You'd still feel that you can play with that rook up the top there?
Well, the problem when you conduct kingside attacks, as Short is doing, is that all your pieces are in front of the pawns, in front of the king, so the pawns can't move to give the king some air. So it means that your king is always hemmed in on this back rank, which potentially is a source of counterplay. And it's a question as to whether or not Kasparov can find some way to combine the defence of his king's side with this potential counterplay against white's king.
See, the way White's going to break through in this position is by sacrificing his bishop on this pawn. He'll get a couple of pawns for the bishop, and the queen and rook the white queen and rook will then be in a wonderful position to exploit the open lines and just mate. What White would like to do is advance this pawn one square and tuck his king away round the side to be completely safe first, and then play the sacrifice. But it's not that easy, because the rook's there. So the queen coming in, so he's threatening to take this pawn with the bishop or the rook, because the black pawn could no longer recapture. Like, king moves away, so now the pawn is free to recapture if it needs to. And now he's done it. Well, must take. And now what you take with the queen? Rook.
This is
threatening
getting
mate.
very exciting.
Threatening mate. Threatening rook here, mate.
Mm-hmm. Now again, John, at this moment, can Short lose?
I don't think Short can lose.
Is he bound to win?
No, he's not bound to win, because the bishop which he just sacrificed was actually a useful defensive piece. For example, it stopped the black queen coming out to give check to the white king. So now he's given away this piece. It means that black's possibilities for counterplay are greater than they were before. Of course, he's got his own strong threats, but it does mean that there's some kind of balance in the position.
But it's a terrible position for black, because White's threatening the rook here, mate. If his king tries to run away to this square, he pins his own rook and lets White's rook come down here. And the trouble with black's position is that his position in the centre cuts his forces in two. He can't bring his queen and rook to defend the king.
But the fact that he's not resigning it...
He's played a check. Okay. He's played a check. What's this? What's this? It's mate.
What?
No, it's... Wow. That's embarrassing. If the king goes here, the rook comes here, mate. If the king
See,
goes...
that's the point about the bishop having
Right.
disappeared. It enables the black rook to come to the first rank for this counter-attack.
And if the king comes here, the queen comes down next to it, mate. So, what does he do? Aha! that's amusing. White doesn't have to worry about the pawn taking this rook because it can't. White's got this mate threat. White just had to get out of check and he's resumed his mating threat. So, is he winning? Bishop. God, this
Yes,
is an
it's-
amazingly scrambled defence, isn't it? I know the queen darted out with a check, and the bishop comes to the square the queen's just vacated. It's like that little puzzle where you have to move things around the only empty square. Black's only got one square to play on.
But he has opened up
And
that E7, of course, for the king to move.
Yeah,
hasn't he?
yeah. But just look at this. I mean, the queen had to move out to give that square to the bishop. The bishop had to move out to give that square to the king.
Right.
It's
very,
horrid.
must have been very precisely calculated by Kasparov, which is impressive. He was fairly short of time, and now he's reduced White's attacking force. White sacrificed one piece, one rook's pinned and immobilised, so Short is now really only attacking with this queen and rook on the king side.
Now, how short of time is Kasparov?
Kasparov is down to his last 5 minutes for a dozen moves now.
And that's
Rook
very
check.
tight.
But the game's not going to last that long. Either White mates or White loses all his pieces, or it must be resolved very quickly. King out. Now what's the idea? Maybe queen down here. Is that what he's playing for? Oh, just rook back. So he's threatening queen takes rook mate. So Black's got to take it. Queen recaptures with check. And can he escape the checks? Well, they've agreed to draw.
Oh, no.
So it must be a draw by perpetual check. Let's work it out. White gives a check. King has to go away. White gives another check. And Black can't run away.
He just
That's
hasn't got enough pieces,
That's
Short.
it. Black can't run away. White hasn't got enough pieces. He can't move his rook because it's pinned. All he can do is keep checking with his queen, or he'll die. He's a piece down after all. And the black king can't run to the other side. If it goes here, it's mated. Well, the rook does have a useful function to play.
Didn't you think
So-
Short was going to win that, John?
It looked very
You were cautious, I know,
It looked
but-
very dangerous for Kasparov. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the players think about the game, because I would have been very, very nervous if I'd been Kasparov.
Now, do you think Short will be very disappointed by that draw?
I think he will be. He built up a very promising attacking position. I think when he looks at it, he'll find that there's something that he missed, or at least some way he could have kept the tension and not...
Kasparov has White's